I know a lot of people like to take their horror seriously, but how can you not love Return of the Living Dead? It's as good as it gets when it comes to zombie movies, and though many of today's moviegoers who love their zombies don't know it, next to Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead is one of the most influential zombie films of all time. Let's order a heaping helping of more brains and chat a bit about 1985's Return of the Living Dead.
Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications.
Return of the Living Dead was released in 1985. It's streaming on Tubi, and a new collector's edition was recently re-released on 4K Ultra from Shout Factory. The link to that is down below. Directed by Dan O'Bannon and written by Dan O'Bannon, Rudy Ricci, John A. Russo, and Russell Streiner. Return of the Living Dead does the impossible by incorporating scenes of laugh-out-loud humor with true jolts and scares. For some reason, the 80s were able to do that so much better than now. Here, slapstick meets splatterpunk as a hapless medical factory worker unleashes toxic gas from a misplaced military experiment while showing a new worker around the shop. Soon the gas reanimates all of the cadavers and dissection animals in the building, and when the two dunces, played with dim-witted glee by James Karen and Tom Matthews, and their boss, played by the iconic Clu Gulager, try to cover up the mess, they end up unleashing the gas into the atmosphere, reanimating the corpses in the graveyard next door, where a group of punk teens are partying. As fast as you can say more brains, you've got a zombie apocalypse on your hands. Return of the Living Dead is iconic for numerous reasons. First and foremost, the delicate tightrope between humor and horror is tiptoed across by director Dan O'Bannon with elegance and respect for both genres. The horror is terrifying, grotesque, and hilarious. When an axe goes through a cadaver's bloodless head, it's played for laughs, but the actors play it straight so the ludicrous act also rings as frightening in the world of the film. Never does the movie wink at the viewer. Never does it shit on the horror genre. It laughs at the ridiculous ways we all react to the unknown, not the unknown itself. That's where the genius lies in Return of the Living Dead, and what makes it so effective and iconic. Return of the Living Dead is also an effects masterpiece. There is shit in this film that still makes me wonder how they did it. The half-corpse captured in the last act is a marvel in puppeteering and makeup effects. The Tarman makeup is gory, gross fun, but also the stuff of the darkest nightmares, made more ghoulish by actor Alan Troutman's lanky, lopsided performance that gives the appearance that the slimy creature has no bones at all. Linnea Quigley's zombie makeup, though briefly seen in the film, is an impressive work of minimalistic terror. And speaking of Linnea Quigley, she's another reason Return of the Living Dead is a standout. Though her role as Trash is small, and she's one of the first ones who dies in the Graveyard Massacre, Quigley steals every scene she's in. Her tombstone striptease is not only pants-tighteningly delicious, but also bold and fearless. Though her confession of her deepest fears in the first scenes make it pretty obvious how she's going to die later, the ferocious way she acts with the rest of the poser punks lends an air of legitimacy to the entire group. I also like the fact that she acts so fragile when the acid rain starts pouring down. It just adds a little humanity to all of that weirdness Trash goes on about in the moments before. And her brief scenes as the pale-skinned zombie offer some of the most frightening zombie scenes in the film. Some might mistakenly claim Return of the Living Dead to be the first fast zombie movie, but that honor, I believe, goes to Nightmare City, another classic zombie flick worthy of an extensive coverage in the future. Return of the Living Dead is the first modern film to utilize zombies as more than just slow-moving slugs. More notable, though, Return of the Living Dead is one of the few zombie films that actually gives the zombies voices. Some moments, like "Send more paramedics," serve as comedic beats, but the interrogation scene of the half-corpse offers some of the only glimpses cinema has ever shown into the mind of a zombie, as the moaning corpse screams that "it hurts to be dead," and brains make the pain go away. And in those simple lines, the zombies are at once made more human and more terrifying. Having just rewatched Return of the Living Dead, it still holds up quite nicely. The music is amazing, the effects are revolutionary, the acting is fun, filled with memorable lines and iconic performances. And Dan O'Bannon's writing of John, Night of the Living Dead, Russo's script still crackles and pops in all the right places. Return of the Living Dead is a true standout in the zombie genre, and even to this day, there isn't a zombie flick out there like it. I also want to talk about More Brains, the definitive Return of the Living Dead documentary. It's included in the Shout Factory's Collector's Edition 4K release. It's directed by Bill Philputt and written by Gary Smart and Christian Sellers. A while back, the definitive Return of the Living Dead documentary entitled More Brains took a look back at the classic film and proved that I'm not the only one who loves every frame. Narrated by Brian Peck, who starred in Return of the Living Dead as one of the punks, Scuzz, the doc digs up all the film's living and undead stars, putting together quite a special little feature. The film goes to extensive lengths to cover everything you would ever want to know, from the initial concept to the film, to the choosing of the cast, to the troubles on set, to the response to the finished product by the public. I found the interviews with the cast and the bits about choosing them to be the most interesting. Though the film oozed punk, I was surprised to find out that none of the characters chosen were actual punks and had to go through total overhauls to achieve their outsider looks. It was also great to see cinema greats like James Karen, John Kafka, and Clu Gulager reminisce about their experiences. The simple fact that the makers of the documentary were able to wrangle the entire cast together to look back and share stories is a testament to how much fun the cast had and how much they respect having worked on Return of the Living Dead. It was also interesting to see interviews with the makeup artists and the difficulties involving the effects. Seeing the testing shots of the makeup and stories of how the effects team was replaced after initial shooting were as fascinating as the shots of unused effects that didn't make it into the film. I also loved the explanation of how Linnea Quigley was fitted for a Barbie doll crotch piece because she wasn't supposed to show pubic hair or female genitalia in her nude scene. As an added bonus, this doc has in its special features Dan O'Bannon's last interview and extensive segments on Return of the Living Dead 2 and 3, which made me want to seek out those films to watch over again as well, though I remember them paling in comparison to the original. Scene by scene, in painstaking detail, More Brains' only detriment is that it runs a bit long, but only because it's a film made by folks who truly love the film it's focusing on. So yes, it might be excessive and might heap the praise and importance of the film a bit high, but if you're like me and love the behind-the-scenes stuff about films you admire, More Brains is essential viewing. I remember paying a visit to Canada when I was a kid and seeing trailers for Return of the Living Dead. I was so excited to see it, but I couldn't see it until it showed up on video. Do you guys remember the first time you saw Return of the Living Dead? Tell me a little bit about it down in the comments.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're